All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a pretty powerful financial strategy, making your assets, well, invisible. Now, this isn't about illegally hiding money, not at all. It's about using smart, totally legal structures to put a shield around what you've worked so hard to build. So, just think about this for a second. What if someone, a creditor, a lawyer for a potential lawsuit, ran an asset search on you and came up with basically nothing? Imagine the power that gives you right from the get-go.
So, okay, why is this kind of financial invisibility so critical? The reason is actually pretty simple, and it's all about strategy.
It really boils down to two huge things. First, you scare off lawsuits before they even get started. See, before a lawyer decides to sue you, they're going to do their homework. They're going to look to see if you're worth the trouble. If they can't find anything juicy, you're not a very tempting target. And second, if things do go south and a judgment is issued against you, this whole strategy makes it incredibly hard for anyone to actually collect.
What's really cool about this is that it's basically a mind game, right? When all your assets are visible, you look like you have deep pockets. You're a big, shiny target. But when they're invisible, on paper, you look like you own next to nothing. You're just not the low-hanging fruit anymore. And believe me, that can make all the difference in the world.
So how do we actually pull this off? Let's start with the stuff that's easiest to get to, your cash and your investments. Okay, here's the biggest problem we all have. Your personal bank account is just a sitting duck. It's got your name on it, it's tied directly to your social security number, and if a creditor gets a judgment against you, it is the first place they're going. They'll slap it with a Brit of garnishment, and bam, your funds are frozen, just like that.
So what's the fix? The tool for this job is something called a privacy banking trust. You can think of it as a special little container that holds your checking account. And here's the magic trick. It uses its own tax ID number, an EIN, instead of your social security number. That one simple change snaps the direct link that creditors are looking for. And this is absolutely key. You don't give up any control. None at all. You are the trustee, the person in charge, and you're also the beneficiary, the one who gets the benefit. You can even give it a totally random, forgettable name like the Pickle Trust. It doesn't need its own tax return or anything complicated, but it just cloaks your account from prying eyes. Okay, great. That takes care of your day-to-day checking account. But what about the bigger piles of money? You know, your savings, your brokerage accounts, maybe your crypto holdings. For that, we're going to need a different tool. And this is where it gets really interesting. Enter the Wyoming LLC. Wyoming is one of a handful of states that has a really special feature. When you set up an LLC there, the public records do not show who owns it or who manages it. This gives you a powerful layer of real structural anonymity. Just look at this before and after. Before, your savings and stocks are in your name, totally vulnerable. After, you open up new accounts in the name of your anonymous LLC. We can call it Crazy Town LLC for fun. You just move your assets over, and just like that, they are no longer publicly linked to you. So why Wyoming specifically? Well, it's not just the anonymity. Wyoming also gives you incredibly strong charging order protection. Now, what that means in simple terms is if someone sues you personally, it's almost impossible for them to break into the LLC and take the assets inside it. It's a real 1-2 punch, invisibility plus a legal force field. All right, we've handled your liquid assets. Now for the big one, the one most people worry about, your home. How in the world do you make your most visible asset basically disappear from public records? If you've got a mortgage on your home, the best tool for the job is what's known as a residence trust. It's specifically designed to protect your home while, and this is super important, preserving your tax benefits and not setting off any alarms with your mortgage lender. So how does this actually work? It might sound a little complicated, but it's really a slick 5-step move. First, you create a trust. Let's call it the fuzzy trust. Then you appoint someone else, a nominee, to be the trustee on the public deed. Once the house is officially in the trust's name, that nominee immediately and privately resigns. Then you privately step in as the new trustee. The public record never changes. It's still got the nominee's name on it, not yours. The benefits here are huge. Your name and your home address are no longer linked in public databases. Snoops can't just look up how much equity you have. And here's the kicker. If a creditor gets a judgment against you personally, it won't automatically stick to your house as a lien because technically the house isn't in your name anymore. Now, what if your house is completely paid off? You've got another option. You could put it inside one of those Wyoming LLCs. This can give you even stronger protection. But there's a trade-off you have to be aware of. In a lot of states, doing this might mean you lose your valuable homestead tax exemption. So it's something you really have to weigh carefully based on where you live.
Okay, so we've covered the core building blocks. Now let's look at how you can layer these together for more complex situations, like if you have a business or a portfolio of rental properties. If you own a few rental properties, you can build this really elegant structure. Each individual property gets its own local LLC. That's for liability protection, but the owner of all of those local LLCs is your single anonymous Wyoming LLC. It acts like a parent company. And here is the beautiful part. If a tenant's lawyer or some creditor starts digging into who owns one of your rentals, they'll find the local LLC. Then they'll ask, well, who owns that LLC? And the answer they'll find is the Wyoming LLC. And that, my friends, is where the trail goes cold. They hit a brick wall of anonymity. You can apply this same exact logic to an operating business. You use a layered structure where your main company is owned by one or more of these anonymous LLCs. And as you can see here, it's really the difference between having some basic privacy and achieving true structural anonymity, where you are completely off the public ownership grid.
And really, it all comes back to this one central idea. This is not about trying to evade something you legally owe. The goal here is all about strategic positioning. It's about making sure you don't look like an easy payday, so you can avoid those frivolous lawsuits and protect the assets you've worked so hard for.
Which really leaves us with one final big question to think about. In today's digital world, where every piece of information feels like it's just a click away, is creating these legal structural walls of anonymity actually the ultimate form of asset protection? Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.